Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. So, you guys, this past Thursday, last Thursday, right before the weekend, it's Monday. My internet is being so incredibly crazy. I just looked down at myself and I was pausing. Am I pausing for anybody else? So, on the 27th of February, this past Thursday, right before the weekend, Hulu came out with a documentary called The Devil in the Family, the Ruby Franke or the Fall of Ruby Franke. And I actually ended up watching it like Friday night. Unbeknownst to me, it was just released. I actually thought that it had been released for like a week or so. The ad was a commercial for this Hulu special. I swear, like the internet knows. They know what we talk about. They know what we do. Okay. Um, Anyways, so I actually watched it Friday night thinking like, oh, it's probably been out for like a week or so. And then I seen everybody like posting about it. And I realized, oh, it literally just came out. If you haven't watched it, watch it if you can. If you can withstand hearing about extreme CA, I highly suggest to watch it because there was a lot of unseen footage in this documentary. We get Kevin Franke front and center talking about what he knew, what his understanding of everything was, and basically how Jodi got rid of him and Chad. We got Kevin, we got Chad, we got Sherry. They all are on this documentary. Not only that, but a therapist that shadowed Jodi Hildebrandt much into her career, but in the beginning of his career, he shadowed her. He went everywhere with her, and she kind of you know uh, showed him the ropes, I guess you could say. And he sits down in this interview as well, talking about when he started realizing that things was off with Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke's therapist. We also have the commercials, the neighbors who contacted the police. I think there was three sets of neighbors that participated in this Hulu documentary. So it was very interesting. It's a three-part documentary. One thing that I wanted to talk about today was Jodi Hildebrandt and this demon possession. So Jodi Hildebrandt was hired years before everything went awry, and she was brought in as Ruby and Kevin's son Chad's therapist. She was this big time therapist in the Mormon community in Utah. Uh, the Mormon community, when they had someone in their community that needed a therapist, she was referred a lot because she was this big time therapist. So when Chad Franke started getting in trouble at school, he was suspended from school. They brought in Jodi Hildebrandt. And he talks a lot in this about, I liked her, I respected her. I think he even said that he was like, I loved her at one point. Like I thought she was great. And he even says, I kind of like worship her. Like I thought like she was like this great person. He even says that it was after everything happened that he started coming out of it and realizing exactly how much she had like brainwashed him. And so we got all of that. We got the neighbors who called the cops. We got the neighbor who they become really close with, Sherry. And when Sherry went over to confront Ruby about kind of being kicked out of the family and being told that she couldn't contact her, the kids, or Kevin, this neighbor went over with Sherry to confront Ruby. And the neighbor talked about it. Sherry talked about it. The neighbor mentioned like Sherry was breaking down. She was crying, begging, what are you doing? Why are you being this way? Like, you're my mom. These are my siblings. That's my dad. How can we not see each other? How can we not talk? And the neighbor said that Ruby's face was just blank. No emotion, not sad, not crying, nothing, just blank. So it's a lot of people in this documentary that gave a lot of insight into what was happening back before everything really went down, before the arrest was made, and before even Kevin Franke left the house. There's a lot of insight into that and just how it all played out. Okay. But like I said, In episode 2, we learn about Jodi Hildebrandt being demonically possessed. And I really wanted to talk about that because I have my opinions on it, but I want to get you guys' opinions as well. So Jodi Hildebrandt, she was living in Ivings, and it's a couple hours distance or a few hours distance. Wait, but was she living in Ivings? Jodi had a house, and it was not exactly close to the Frankie's house, right? So she started telling them that she was having demonic possessions happen. So let's see. Yeah, it's in Ivins. Okay. I thought so, but I didn't want to be wrong. So Kevin explains that they are informed that Jodi is, dealing with possessions. So they come over, and not only are they there, but Jodi's bishop, priest, preacher, I forget what they call them in the Mormon religion, and they pray. Kevin says him and the other guy pray over Jodi, and that this kept happening. This kept happening. They would go and they would pray, and he said he remembers the last time that Jodi's preacher was there, and he said he ended up telling Jodi, "I can't keep doing this. Like I can't keep coming here doing this. Like nothing's changing," which made me wonder if that preacher, priest, bishop, I cannot remember what they call them, but if he was like, if he thought that it was not real, if he came over at her request, she's the therapist in their religion, so he comes over and he continues to pray over her and attempt to do exorcisms if she's possessed, but she's calling him to come over a lot, apparently. And Kevin says he remembers when their preacher told her, "I can't keep doing this." So at that point, Kevin and Ruby were kind of on their own with it. And so someone came up with the idea that Jodi, rather than staying in Ivins in her house, it's about 4 hours away from the Frankie home, they decided to bring Jodi into their home. And she would move in to Sherry's bedroom. Sherry was on her way out for college. So they brought Jodi in and she moved in Sherry's bedroom. And there's footage. So we're going to watch the trailer for the show. And then we're going to watch some of the footage from this possession. And I want to talk about it because I really don't think, I do believe in demonic possessions. I'm a Christian. I believe it. But we'll talk as to why I don't necessarily believe that this was legitimate. So here's a trailer for the show. If you haven't watched it, I do think I have to take out some copyright music. So if there's like a jump scene, that's why.
Ruby has done, it just crossed a line of abusive to just psychotic.
My wife, Ruby, sole ambition was to be seen as the perfect mom. And so she decided to create a YouTube channel, and we became 8 passengers.
Thumbs up, subscribe.
Our entire schedule revolved around YouTube. It felt more like a set than a house.
She just wanted to show the view of a Mormon happy family, but they only saw what we wanted to show them.
Oh. Sit her down on the flipping couch. Okay, move it. If I hear one more word, get out.
The devil knocked, and we opened the door.
Welcome to Connections. I'm Jodi Hildebrandt.
She would prey on the weak. She was excellent at exploiting Mormon anxiety.
Jodi began to live at our home. It was uncomfortably intimate. Weird things started happening. Ruby said the children were demonically possessed. That was the spark that blew the powder keg.
911 emergency. Hi, my name is Sherry Franke, and my neighbors have been telling me that my 4 younger siblings have been left home alone for about 4 or 5 days.
Open the doors!
It was unlike anything I've ever seen.
It's like a ghost story.
I'm still recording!
I'm worried about the kids.
Why didn't you stand up to say, this is nonsense? If I dwell on that question, it eats me alive.
Fake being happy. Okay? I don't know if I can right now.
Okay, so that's the trailer part if you haven't seen it. And then here is some of the unseen footage of when Jodi was allegedly possessed. It makes me wonder, is she still being possessed in jail? Did the demons decide they didn't want to go to prison? I'm very curious to find out if she is still having these, episodes in prison, or if they were like, not us. Nope, we're not going to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Jodi would go into these possessed trances. And she would start speaking in other voices.
She's not. She's not. She knows.
And Ruby believed that it was meant to be, and that me and her were meant to help Jodi overcome this.
How did you think you could help Jodi?
Casting the evil spirits out.
Like how she's sitting on the floor with her hoodie at the end. There she is. So I thought that was extremely interesting watching her. Here's my question. If I have a friend that is demonically possessed and they're like, can y'all come like pray over me? I'd be like, yeah, we'll come pray over you. That's fine. But if they're like, listen, can I move in y'all's house? I'm going to say, no, ma'am. I have my children in my house and I don't need no demons in my house with my kids. So when it escapes you, it can flee right on into them when we're trying to pray it out of you. You know what I'm saying? And so to speak on Kevin a little bit. So the first time Kevin went to one of Jodi Hildebrandt's meetings, he said he leaned over to Ruby and said, this sounds like a cult. Like this sounds cultish or something along those lines. And he was basically told, like, oh, you're just like a hater. Like you don't want to open your eyes to see the truth. So I really think this man just was so obsessed over Ruby that he was like, okay, maybe I am just being, well, he said it. He said, like, he just thought, well, okay, maybe I am being like a man, a woman hater, like, maybe I am being this way. Maybe I need to open, it's a bunch of women in this class all saying the same thing, that this is how they feel. So if I want to be a better husband, maybe I need to listen to this so I can be a better husband. So how long is our apprentice? It is anywhere from up to 30 years, but between 4 to 30. Because, okay, so they were charged with 6 counts of felony aggravated CA, but she pled guilty to 4 counts and 2 were dismissed. So 4 counts of aggravated CA. In 4 years, she will go up in front of a parole board where they can then set how long. I think they can then set how long. Or every 4 years, she can go up in front of them and they will decide if she can get out at that point or if she will serve another 4 years. I think that's the way that it is. Yeah. So 4 to 30. They did not fight it. Her and Jodi both pled guilty, and that's what it is. I have opinions, and voicing most of them would get me in a YouTube timeout. Same. Yes. So in the documentary, they said in the beginning when Ruby and Frankie, yes, Jodi and Ruby will get a hearing in 4 years from the time they were sentenced. So what was that, like last year? It's been like almost a year. So from the time they were sentenced, 4 years, they go in front of the board. And they will say, nope, you're not getting out. And they go for another 4. So, they said in the very beginning, everything was fine. Like that we were happy. We went to church. Everything was good. And they played clips from that showing like where everything seemed to be happy. Like Chad and Sherry were best friends. They made up a dance. They did like until they were almost at the age of moving out. Ruby decided she wanted to start a YouTube channel. They said even in the beginning of the YouTube channel, it was still like okay. But when money started coming in and they started getting sponsorships, then it became a job. I have to do this. And they knew that a thumbnail with Sherry and Chad on the thumbnail and a video that was pointed more about them, they did well. They did the best videos about Sherry and Chad, videos that had them on the thumbnail, which meant Ruby wanted Sherry and Chad in as much content as possible. So Sherry said it became a job. It interfered with their life. If she wanted to do something, she had to film first. Sherry wrote in her book, Ruby wrote her a letter from prison, and she did apologize, but not for anything you would think. She just apologized for not spending enough time with her before college. Wow. It's insane. Not for almost killing your siblings, not for, as soon as before you moved out. So 2 weeks before Sherry was supposed to move out is when Jodi moved in. And Sherry said she got a call. She wasn't at home. And she said, you need to come home and move your things to your sister's room because Jodi's moving in with us and she's going to be taking over your room. And Sherry said it wasn't a big deal because she was going to be moving in 2 weeks anyways, but it was a little bit of an inconvenience, but whatever. She said then once she left for college, she starts getting these phone calls. You're going to be dropped from the insurance at the end of the month. You have no health insurance. Get a message from Ruby saying you need to get your own cell phone. So as soon as she moved out, Ruby started cutting her off from everything and anything. And then she said, do not contact your siblings. Do not contact your dad. Do not contact Chad. So they were all put out. Kevin, Chad, and Sherry were all put out of the house basically, or Sherry left, and they were told they could not contact each other and they could not contact the other kids. Chad and Kevin were told the only communication they could have with anybody would be with Jodi Hildebrandt for their therapy sessions. And they did therapy twice a week. Even up until it happened, like up until they were arrested, Kevin and Chad were doing freaking therapy sessions. And they had, Chad said he is, on duty at his job as a lifeguard sitting in the chair. And his boss comes up to him and is like, listen, man, hate to hear what happened. If you need anything, we're all here for you. And he has no idea what happened. So he gets his phone and he just types in Ruby Franke today. And it pops up that she was arrested for, CA. And he texted his dad and said, I don't know what to do. I have nobody to talk. Or he said he called Jodi and Jodi didn't answer because he said, I couldn't call Ruby. I couldn't call my siblings. I was instructed not to. So the only person I could call was Jodi, but she wasn't answering. He said, and then I did a big no-no and I called my mom, but she wasn't answering. So then I texted my dad and I said, I have nobody to turn to. I have nobody to talk to. I don't know what's going on. Will you please talk to me? And his dad texted back and said, yes, I will be at the house tomorrow if you want to meet me there. He said, so the next day he was pulling up to the house and he said he saw this man sitting there that was just scrawny. And he was like, who's that man sitting in the yard? And he said, as he got closer, he realized it was his dad. And when they got there, they, hugged and they cried and it took them, sometime that day, a neighbor came over and explained to them all the things that was happening. A neighbor came over and was like, listen, this is what we know. And when they got to the house, Chad and Kevin, it was just a mess, And so when the neighbor come over, Kevin apologized to him. He said, I'm sorry, the house is like this. I don't know what happened. I think somebody broke in. And he said, well, no, the house is like this because they're moving. And Kevin was like, what do you mean? He said, well, yeah, Ruby and the kids were moving. That's why the house is like this. They were packing to move. And he was like, they wasn't. That cannot be true. And he was like, they absolutely was. And then so Kevin and the neighbor sat down and the neighbor told him everything that he knew. And Kevin was just kind of blown away by it. But yes, I want to get to this. Okay, let's watch this again. So where were the two older boys living if they weren't at home? So the two older ones was a boy and a girl, Chad and Sherry. Sherry was living right off of campus because she went to college, and Chad was living in an apartment. Yeah. So here is this because I am certified in body language. However, I do not proclaim to be an expert and I am still learning. But this is a difficult one because this is almost like, you know, when you're trying to read body language, if you're reading an actor or an actress who's acting, it's a little bit more difficult because well, they're trying to act to make things believable. However, there are certain things that still pop out that your body does in certain circumstances. Like I was watching Spidey, a behavioral analyst, talk about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case, where they were watching the clip where Blake and Justin were dancing, and he explained that it is a little bit harder, but he was still able to pinpoint things like, okay, yeah, she does seem to be she's showing signs of uncomfortableness because of this, because of that, but here she's not. So it can be a little bit more difficult when somebody's like a trained actress purposely acting versus somebody just sitting there talking, but maybe lying and your body is showing signs of it because you're just talking and being asked questions and you're answering them and you're lying, but you're not necessarily like full blown acting, if that makes sense. Yes, I love Spidey. But I did some research on this as well. Just signs that someone is actually possessed versus like a fake possession. Do I think she was evil? That's no doubt. And I think if she was probably possessed, it was something that she was okay with. Just maybe the demon acted up every once in a while and showed itself. But because here's the thing. Jodi and Ruby were both evil. To treat kids that way, to abuse kids the way that they did, that's definitely not that's evil. That is straight evilness. That is demonic to do that to children. So I do think they were evil, and yeah, maybe they were both possessed. Do I think this was a actual moment of a possession being, I struggle with that, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so let's watch it again.
Jodi would go into these possessed trances. And she would start speaking in other voices.
So he said she would start speaking in other voices, but he didn't say languages. And that is one sign. So a sign of possession is they will speak in different languages. A language that the host, like Jodi, does not know. I was actually watching videos earlier of possession, and a lot of times they don't even speak. They speak, but it's like let me see if I can find the video. I'll show you guys a video really quickly.
You are not stronger than Christ. You are not stronger than Christ. Get over here, brother. You are not stronger. No, you are not stronger than Christ. No, you're not stronger. You are not stronger than Christ.
Yeah, they growl, exactly. So see how she's not like speaking like an actual language, like it's like mumbling, or there will be a language that the host herself doesn't know. Let's see. They also have demonic strength. They have a strength unlike nothing you've ever seen, because it is demon strength. So that's why, like, somebody that's possessed, it can take several people to hold them back because they have demonic strength. Also, they will have knowledge of secrets of the people like around you. So like say Kevin is trying to pray demons out of Jodi. Jodi or the demon inside Jodi may start telling secrets or saying things about Kevin that Jodi herself wouldn't know. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, it's hard to, I'm trying to think of like something to say, but it would be something that Jodi herself did not know, but the demons knew. So that they would reveal something like that. So while I do think they were evil, 1,000%, I think they are demonic, 1,000%. I think Jodi is possessed, but I think she welcomes it. I don't think she fights it, and I think she lived her life out doing the things that the demons in her wanted her to do because I think she was evil. But I don't necessarily think her acting like that is actually, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Let's see. The person shows clear signs of aggravation when when you're praying over them, they will get aggressive. They will show signs of aggravation, especially when Jesus's name is mentioned. Yeah, so I don't necessarily believe that she was like, I do think she was possessed, but I think she was okay with it and went with it, and it was what she wanted.
And she would start speaking in other voices.
She's not. She's not. She knows.
And Ruby believed that it was meant.
You know what I think is ironic is the fact that Jodi was telling Ruby and Frankie that she was possessed, that she was demonically possessed. And so they went to her house, prayed over her, took care of her, brought her to their house, put her up in one of their kids' rooms, took care of her. Ruby started sleeping in the bedroom with her to take care of her, probably in more ways than one. And that's how Jodi wanted them to treat her when she was possessed. However, Jodi is convincing Ruby that the two younger ones are possessed, but rather than saying, oh, we got to take care of them, we got to pray over them. No, she instructed, and they both participated in abusing those two kids with the excuse that they were possessed. Like, oh, they're possessed, so we got to beat the demon out of them, basically. Well, Jodi, why you didn't let nobody beat the demon out of you? You know what I'm saying? Why not beat the demon out of Jodi if that's how you get rid of it? I just think it's very, I mean, I know cults, it's like a big thing. They can pull you in and it's just what it is. You believe things that maybe you wouldn't normally believe because this person has so much influence over you somehow. But that would be a question I would ask. First off, when you said, can I move into your house? I would say, nope, no way, Jose. I'm not bringing nobody that I know or that is admitting to being demonically possessed. You're not coming to my house. Sorry, I'll come over here, pray with you, splash some holy water on you, whatever, but you're not coming to my house. And as a matter of fact, you're not going to be given therapy. My kids are not doing therapy with you no more. Chad will find a new therapist. As long as you're demonically possessed, why would I allow my child? Why would you be his therapist if you are possessed? What in the world? You're not moving into my house. How bizarre is it that, and if I was Kevin and these things are happening, which here's the thing, what they did with Kevin and Chad, they said that because Kevin and Chad were committing sins and living in distortion, it was bringing the demons into the house that were attacking Jodi. The reason Jodi could not get rid of the demons was due to Kevin and Chad's actions. And that's how they basically got rid of them out of the house. Until you guys move out, she may not ever get, that's a part of it. That was some of it. Kevin said that's what he was told, that, his and Chad's actions were causing demons to possess Jodi and she couldn't get rid of them. And that he was living in distortion in other ways. He wasn't a good dad. And so they got rid of them. But if I was Kevin, I would say there's no way in Hades am I going to leave my house where my kids are with a woman who's possessed. Like, Ruby, how does that make sense to you? You want me, the man who's supposed to protect my family, to up and leave y'all here living with a woman that's possessed? It really doesn't make sense to me that Ruby could be so easily manipulated. But I will tell you, Ruby Franke said, or Sherry Franke said, that she believes that her mom was always evil, but that Jodi brought it out. That because she talked about instances where there was abuse before Jodi entered into the family or even into the equation. Kevin is guilty. He should have gotten some kind of. I do agree that Kevin was absolutely complicit, compliant, and allowed a certain level of abuse to go in that house, because there was a part that was filmed that he was filming, and Ruby was showing off a ring that she had, and the little girl kind of like got up on the table in front of her or something, and she grabbed that little girl by the back of her head and by her mouth and pulled her down and said, "You sit down, you get over here." And Kevin was like, "Oh, gotta cut that out." And Ruby's like, "Yep, gotta cut that out." There was also a point to where she's filming and she starts screaming, "Why am I hearing voices?" And Kevin was like, "It's 12:35. We're getting ready for church. That's why you're hearing voices." There was another part to where she was filming and the littlest one was trying to play or something. And she told Kevin, "You get her. You sit her down right now. You sit her on that couch right now." So he definitely knew about some things. The hand over the mouth and pulling her back into the chair. He knew about the yelling and how filming clearly made her mad. That if her kids were being kids, she lived in a house with 6 kids. That's why my office is out here. That's why there was a point to where I went live late at night. Because when you have 6 kids in your house, it's going to be almost impossible to keep the noise down to where you can film. What did Sean say? Yeah, from a man's point of view, my wife comes first until it involves the kids getting hurt. It's crazy that man didn't check on his kids and have any idea. Exactly. Well, remember when they were staying in Jodi's house before they moved her into their house? There was their handprint in the glass or something that she had the demons before. Exactly. Well, yeah, that was her whole thing, is she had these demons, and that's why she got them. That's how she ended up moving in with them. But then apparently the reason she couldn't get rid of them was due to Kevin and Chad's actions. Yeah, I think so. Kevin has children now. So the last thing that I read about this, the documentary did not explain where the little kids are, the 2 youngest. It didn't go into detail, because one thing that Chad and Sherry and Kevin all wanted to do was they did not want to involve the little kids. So anytime footage was shown where the little kids could be seen, their faces were blurred out and their names were always blurted out. Blurted? No, not blurted. Their names were blotted. Blotted out? Redacted. So yeah, blurred. Their faces would be blurred and their names would be redacted. So like, say there was one scene where Sherry said, "Me and Chad invented a dance together when we were about blank and blank's age." She said their names, but the show took them out because they want to respect their privacy. But the last thing that I did read was the 2 were placed in foster care together, and Kevin had filed for custody. I don't know where that stands now, but Kevin did say that he sees his kids and that they have Sunday dinners. And Chad is there, Sherry's there, and he's getting to enjoy his kids again. Not sure if that also means the 2 little ones. I'm not sure. There was something else I was going to read. Oh, okay, here it is. This is the NBC News article that I wanted to read. Let me share it with you guys. If you haven't watched it, it goes so much more in detail of what all the stuff that we've known. It shows clips of her journal, Ruby's journal, where she talks about, the boy emulates a snake. I told him if you want it, I'll read this article because I think it talks about it in some of this. Okay. Ruby Franke docuseries on Hulu shares new details of CA case. Kevin in the docuseries said, I was the last line of defense for these children, and I packed my bags and I walked away. Let me make that a little bit bigger for y'all. All right. A year after former YouTube family vlogger Ruby Franke was sentenced to prison for CA, a new Hulu docuseries is shedding light on what happened behind the scenes before the criminal case made headlines across the nation. The Franke family, which includes Ruby Franke and her husband Kevin, alongside their 6 children, had amassed more than 2 million subscribers on their now defunct channel 8 Passengers before she and her business partner Jodi Hildebrandt were arrested and charged with 6 counts of felony child abuse in 2023. They both pled guilty to 4 counts of second-degree aggravated CA and were sentenced to up to 30 consecutive years in prison. The saga sparked national shock and outrage as more details continue to surface about the children endured. Ruby Franke, who had faced internet scrutiny for her parenting techniques even before her arrest, frequently appeared in controversial advice videos for Hildebrandt's life coaching service Connections. Devil in the Family, the follow Ruby Franke, which debuts Thursday, features interviews with Kevin Franke and the 2 oldest children, Sherry and Chad. Kevin filed for divorce in the months after Ruby Franke's arrest. It also shows behind-the-scenes footage of Ruby Franke provided to the filmmakers by the family, including multiple clips of her yelling at the children while she was filming herself or the family for their channel. The director, Ollie Lambert, said trusting third parties holding cameras was a huge step for the Franke family. But when we approached them, I think we all individually had it in mind the story needed to be told with depth and nuance over a long period of time and in detail, because only then can you sort of fully understand how they ended up where they did. And I will say that's the good thing about this documentary. It goes from the beginning. It starts at the beginning. Like it shows like the very first video that they put up on their channel pretty much, where the family was cutting a cake for the gender of the new baby, which was the last one. Hey, Lucy. Yes, so they did say that when Jodi first moved in, the abuse stopped. And then I think once Kevin went out, Chad is the oldest son, babe. Hey, come on, you know about him. Sherry and Chad are the 2 oldest. Well, okay, how did Ruby make money before social media? Her husband worked. And they did well off because he was a professor. All right. Lambert said the family set strict perimeters around protecting the privacy of the 4 youngest children by blurring out their faces and censoring their names whenever they were mentioned. Ruby and Jodi were not invited to participate in the docuseries and did not respond to the filmmakers' request for comment. Attorneys for the 2 did not immediately respond to the request for comment Wednesday after the docuseries release. During Ruby Franke's sentencing hearing last year, an audio of which was streamed on the Utah's court website, the Utah mom teared up while apologizing to her children. I believed dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. Here are some of the major moments in the 3-part doc. All right. The Franke children said they hated being forced to perform in front of the camera. Drawing from an archive containing more than 1,000 hours of unseen footage provided by the family, the docuseries contains numerous clips depicting Ruby Franke's persona behind the camera. In one unreleased clip of herself, the mother of 6 yelled at her family for making noise before stopping and restarting the footage. reverting back to a calm demeanor. Other footage shows similar instances of anger, such as when Ruby Franke expressed frustration at her husband for not being more active or being active enough on camera. Which is so funny because in these clips where she's getting mad at her husband or the kids for not being active enough, they were. Like, they were both talking, but she wanted them to have like more personality, I guess. But he didn't. And the kids don't always. They're kids. Kevin said in one episode, she filmed everything, and I was so uncomfortable with it. When I came in the door, wherever Ruby was, the camera was. All of a sudden, it wasn't enough to just interact with her. I had to interact with the camera. He later noted that the children began to express discomfort with the constant filming as well. Sherry said our entire schedule revolved around YouTube, and I think that's where I started to have issues, adding that their family home turned into something that felt more like a set than a house. One of the clips in the series shows Ruby Franke telling one of her children, just be yourself. And when the child said, that is myself, Ruby said, well, then change it. Another clip in the docuseries shows Chad Franke, the eldest Franke son, posing with one of his younger sisters as his mother instructed him to smile. He then says through his gritted teeth, I hate smiling at lenses. I really didn't want to do anything with YouTube. It bugged the crap out of me, he said in the episode. I hated it. And there was a time, maybe even a year or more, where I truly hated her. There's a whole, I'll link this article because it's interesting. If you can watch it, I would say watch it. It's on Hulu. You can probably find some of it on YouTube, maybe even TikTok. But I do believe they were demons, Ruby and Jodi. I will say that. I don't think that was a legit, like, I think they were probably possessed, but I don't think that was the demon showing itself or reacting in any sort of way with Jodi. I think that Jodi welcomed evil and she was fine with it. You don't behave like that and treat kids the way that she did and not be evil, you know. Kevin should be held liable many times. He was the one that was holding that camera. Yeah, there's definitely instances where he's holding the camera and she's screaming and yelling at the kids, or even at times putting her hands on the kids. I would thank you. Yeah, acting on their own free will, but listening to demonic influence. Yes. I thought Chad said that his dad got his PhD before YouTube. I could be wrong though. Jodi does have kids of her own, which is another big flag. Jodi has an ex-husband that had nothing to do with her, and kids of her own that had nothing to do with her. So I'm like, how are you going to try to be a therapist for me and my kids when your own kids don't speak to you? Definitely wild. But I would be curious to hear if Jodi is still experiencing these types of outbursts in prison, or like I said, if they were like the demons was like, we're not going to jail. Jodi was more, yes, I think you're right. Yeah. And you know what is Sherry revealed that her mom was abusive. You know, early on things were fine, but then when they started getting the big money from YouTube, her mama become what seemed to be abusive, punching Chad. She said there was a time that she had to help Chad clean his blood up off the walls, but she never said Dad was there. He knew Dad wasn't there. He didn't know, but maybe I don't know. I felt like if he wasn't there and he didn't know, that should have been something that was mentioned. You know, Mom kept these things from him. Dad didn't really know how mean, like, yeah, he saw her yell, but he didn't really see her punching Chad or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, you guys, if you haven't watched it, watch it. That possession.
Be, and that me and her were meant to help Jodi overcome this.
How did you think you could help Jodi?
Casting the evil spirits out.
Well, yeah. I just came from a 6-hour live. I saw that live earlier, and they had theories about Jodi and her hallucinations. I'm going to have to watch it whenever I get a chance. I think the last I heard they were in foster care together, but I'm not sure. But you guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you guys think about the possession footage? Do you guys think that she was acting there? Do you guys think that's real demonic possession? I believe it exists. And I watched footage of some, the clip that I just showed y'all. There's footage out there on YouTube where like your face like just contorts in like weird ways and you start growling and any mention of Jesus or prayers brings, the person starts being aggressive. Yes, Casey Anthony news showed up on my feed. Yes, I recorded her TikTok and put it up as well because Casey Anthony is now on TikTok and she is going to start an email just for people that want to reach out to her needing legal advice. I feel like Julie and Abby are always forgotten too. I know. Who said that, Jamie? Oh, okay, gotcha. You guys leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you watched it. Do you believe this is a real demonic possession? Or do you guys believe that she was faking it just to get closer to Ruby and to get Ruby in her bed, which is ultimately what happened? Like this video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And I will see you guys back here probably later today. Bye, guys.